Hi everyone, good evening. This is Hareesha from H&B Premier Tax and Accounting LLC. I hope everyone is staying safe, staying home. Today is March 21st, 2020, 8:34 p.m. Everybody in New York have been asked to stay home. It's difficult times for a lot of people. I want to bring a clip that discusses how to handle your personal finances during a crisis situation, especially when we go through a pandemic right now. So how you could work on your personal finances, and then how you could not get into a situation that you don't have money. So before I get into the details of this, I want to make a disclaimer. This information is general information for educational purposes only. If you want to, whatever you do or don't do based on this information, we do not assume any responsibility. You need to talk to your accountant, attorney, or financial advisor. All right. So there are a lot of points that I'm going to talk here, but I basically categorize into three major areas. One is how to protect your income. Two is to reduce your expenses. Three, how to protect or reallocate your assets. Stay tuned. There are a lot of valuable information. It's going to be here, so you could actually take this information and then save a lot of money, and then get real financial help. So number one, in a crisis situation, what you need to do is you need to stay calm. I know it's easy to say, but it's very difficult to do. But you cannot get panic. I tell this to my family sometimes. Look, when something goes wrong or something happens to someone, me crying is going to help the situation. I'll sit down and then cry all day long. But me crying or mourning about it is not going to solve anything. So it's just going to add to the problem. So in this situation, what we have to do is we have to be strong, and then we have to stay calm, but think properly, think clearly, and come up with solutions. So number one, protect your income. So if you already have a job, your job is keep paying you very good. But if you are one of those got already fired, or got laid off, or you don't have a paycheck, so then what you need to do is immediately you need to file for unemployment, and then make sure that you get the claim in. That way you have the income coming in. If you are already in a job, you work less hours, make sure you do the best job that you ever have done. Always you want to do a best job that you could do in a job, no matter what. But especially in a situation like this, you want to make sure that you are indispensable. If they have to make a decision, who to keep, who not to keep, you have to be the one that they say, this is the guy that we have to keep in our company. Then we could let other people go. But that way you will have income coming in, and then also if even though the situation is bad and a lot of companies are letting people go because they cannot operate, if somebody works in a hair salon, they cannot keep up open because of the law right now. If somebody work in a bar, restaurant, most people they just lost their jobs. So what you have to do is look around and see if there are other ways that you could make revenue. Like for example, Amazon is hiring a lot of people, and then also a lot of healthcare workers, they have to work a lot of hours. So if you happen to know someone, reach out to them and ask if they need a nanny, or if they need help, if they need somebody to do the errands for them while they're working. So that way you could make some extra money. Or if you have time, if you know a neighbor, a senior that needs help, that they cannot go out, get their groceries, maybe you could help them. It's something nice to do, good thing to do, but at the same time, maybe if you do it as a job for them, you might be able to make some extra money. There are a lot of things that you could do, and then be creative. You go to you go to hustle during these kind of situations. You cannot sit relax. So also one other thing that you could do, if you are 62 years or older, you could consider taking your social security income at this point. You need to be 65, depending on the year that you were born. Either you need to be 65 or 67 to get the full benefit. But if you take it at 62, you will get a pay cut. Still, for some of you, if you don't have food to put on the table, or if you don't have money to survive, that could be something you need to consider. You need to talk to if you have an accountant or expert in that area, so you could get those paperwork in, and then make the applications and get that income coming. So that's in terms of income. So what you could do. So let's talk about reducing your expense. So all of us has expenses that we could look at and then reduce. So go through all the expenses that you are making every month. The easiest way to do this is you could make a budget. What's a budget? Budget is an accounting word. Basically, it's list the income that coming in and expenses goes out, and they will show you every month if you have more money left at the end, or if you are spending more than what you're earning. So that's pretty much what it is. So there are ways that you could do. If you're tech savvy, you could use a software like Google Sheets or Excel. So you could prepare a spreadsheet that's showing each line items, different kinds of income you get, and then different expenses you have, and then you could come up with the net number. Or if you want to go do it old-fashioned way, you could get a notebook and then write it down, and then write down every expense that you have and that you have to make, and then cut down every unnecessary expenses, right? So what are the expenses that we don't need to have? Talk to your gym. Most gyms are closed right now, so you cannot go to the gym. So maybe if you talk to the gym, they might stop you the monthly charge on the gym, and then some of the tuition that you take for your kids. Talk to those providers, and if you prepaid them, already there's not much you could do. But if you made a commitment to pay, hang on to those payments and then talk to them, because why you have to pay, they might not even conduct the classes because the school might be closed for we don't know, for a long period. And then I was talking to one of my friends today. He said he sends his daughter to a private school, and he was talking to me about paying her daughter's private school fees. He said, I have the money set aside for that. My advice to him was don't pay it, because you don't know when the school is going to open. But later on, if the school wants to have a discussion about that, if you owe the money, or if you want to pay half of it, whatever, you could deal with that later. But at this point, hang on to your money. Then during this crisis situation, cashing is king. Hang on to your cash, right? So then what are the expenses that you cannot reduce? You cannot reduce your health insurance. Do not cancel your health insurance, because we are in a health pandemic caused by the health hazard, right? So what if you had to go to a hospital, get care? So you cannot afford to cancel your health insurance. Number one, you should not cancel your life insurance, because what if something goes wrong and then you're not leaving anything for your family. So you must in my opinion, you must keep your health insurance and life insurance. One other thing I actually found out yesterday, what you could do is if you have vehicles that you don't use, right? If you have vehicles that you don't use, you could take in New York, you could take the plates out and then park the vehicles on your driveway or in your garage, and then surrender the plates, and you could cancel your insurance, because in New York, the vehicle insurance is a very significant, expense. Most people that I know pay like $200-300 a month for insurance for each car. So if you have 3 cars, some people I know, most of them have 2 cars. Some people have 3 cars. So if you have 3 cars, a weekend car, maybe you could surrender the plates. You could you don't have to pay the insurance on that. If you have 2 cars, the schools are closed. Maybe your wife doesn't need to drive anymore, so you could use you could share one vehicle, right? So one thing you got to understand if you try to do that, if you have a loan on your car, your bank requires you to have insurance on your vehicles. But if you want to cancel, you could talk to your broker and tell them that you want to cancel your liability portion of the insurance. Still, you want to keep the property portion of the insurance. So some carriers allow that, some carriers don't allow that, but have a discussion with your broker. If you do that, let's say you cancel insurance take plates out of one vehicle, that will save you like $200 a month. It adds up. What else you could do? You could if you have credit cards, right? So if you have credit cards, rewards, you could use credit card rewards to get cash. You could cash them, and you could pay your credit card bills. So that way you don't have to come up with money to pay your credit card bills. Also, there are a lot of laws and regulations coming out that they say that for 2 months you don't have to pay your mortgage payments, and then you could delay your taxes for 3 months. For mortgage payments, exactly, there are a lot of things moving at this point. Things that I talked today may not be relevant tomorrow because laws change. So what you want to do is talk to your mortgage company, ask them, okay, so can I delay the payments, or can I postpone the payments for 2 months, 60 days? So if they say yes, well and good, keep that record written somewhere, so you got the permission, or get that confirmation in email. You have that in your file, so then you could delay the mortgage payments for 2 months, so you will have extra cash. So that's what you could do to those are like the major things that you could do to reduce your expenses. Now let's talk about investments. So third point, protect or reallocate your assets. So in this section, so we talk about what you have in liquid assets. Basically, number one, you need to assess how much cash you have. Ideally, you want to have 12 months of expenses in cash. If you do not, that's your emergency fund. If you do not have 12 months, so then minimum 6 months. So you need to have 6 months of your expenses. Like, okay, somebody could say, I don't have 6 months of expenses, what do you do? So then you got to look at your investments. So when you look at your investments, if you have any investments like regular investments like stocks, bonds, brokerage accounts, mutual funds, or your retirement plans, 401ks, 403bs, or any pension plans, IRAs, Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, those kind of accounts. So then you go to look into those. When you want to liquidate your positions into cash in your investment accounts, you have to do it in this order. First, touch your non-qualified investment accounts. That means don't go into retirement accounts, go into your regular brokerage account. In your regular brokerage account, if you have positions, so you could liquidate your positions into cash to support 12 months of your expenses. But before you do that, you need to talk to your accountant or financial advisor. Make sure that you know the tax consequences. When you trade equities, securities, whether you gain or lose money, there are tax consequences. So now, if you don't have non-qualified account, so then you go into your 401k, 403b, the plans that you have at the job. Some of those plans will allow you to take a loan if you are still employed and then pay it over time. But if you're not employed, then you cannot do that, and then you have to look at if you are over 59 and a half years old, or you are younger than 59 and a half. So if you are over 59 and a half, you could withdraw money from 401ks, 403bs, any penalties. If you are younger than 59 and a half, so then in a 401k you will have to pay taxes, and then also you will have a penalty. But all those penalty situations, I think my case, they will grant some relief with the laws coming out tomorrow, but we'll wait to see what's going to happen with that. Then if you have a Roth IRA, so you could take the principal that you put in without any tax consequences. You don't have to pay any taxes. There's no penalties if you are 59, below 59 and a half, or if you're above 59 and a half, no matter. Now, if you're below 59 and a half and you have gains in your Roth IRAs, then you could take the gains, and then that will be taxed. That will have a 10% tax penalty. If you're above 59 and a half, you kept the money for more than 5 years, so then there's no 10%, there's no taxes that you have to pay on that. Then look at your credit cards. If you have credit lines, credit cards, you might want to take the money out from those lines and then keep them in cash. What happened was in 2008, people thought that they have the credit lines, but banks went ahead and canceled or curtailed the lines, so people were not able to take the money out when they needed them. And also, when you're paying the credit cards and then credit lines, just pay the minimum that you need to keep your lines in good standing. Because the same thing happened in 2008 when people went ahead and paid off their credit lines, but banks waited till they collect the money and then they curtail the lines. You don't want to go into that situation. And also look at other things that you have, like your credit card reward points. You could cash them. They're money too. That you could use them to pay for some expenses, or you could use them to pay for your balances. And also look at other things that you have, like your collectibles. It may not be a good time to sell, but if you don't have any other resources to support yourself during this difficult time, those are also options that you have to keep your liquidity positions, keep your cash. So that's basically it. I mean, these things, very common sense, sound simple, but what I encourage people to do is, sit down and make a list, go through them, have a plan. Most importantly, what you need to understand, this is temporary. Like any other difficult situations that we go through. Once it's over, we will look back and we will say, all right, we passed through it. This shall pass. So don't panic again. Stay safe, and then during this difficult time, tell your family, tell your loved ones, that you love them, and give them some emotional support. This is the time that people need support from each other. Again, thank you for listening. Hareesha from H&B Premier Tax and Accounting LLC. This is what we do. We work with a lot of businesses and business owners, and then high net worth individuals, help with them their finances, taxes, and any other areas that related to accounting and finance. Please give us a call, shout out, subscribe to our channel for more information like this. Everybody stay safe. Good luck. Thanks.